They ask 2 questions, and suddenly they know exactly how to hurt you and exactly how to please you. How is that possible? This is the dark psychological paradox of hyper-observation, the creepy skill that creates a high-resolution map of your mind. You've probably felt it, right? That unnerving sensation, like someone's gaze is a kind of X-ray and you feel completely transparent. But it's not genuine empathy. It's a cold, calculated assessment. It's not a real connection. It's one-sided data collection. The skill we're going to break down today is called hyper-observation. It's the technique that lets certain people just bypass months of getting to know you and instead download a detailed blueprint of your entire psyche in a matter of minutes. And really understanding this mechanism, piece by piece, is the absolute first step to building a defense against it.
So here's how we're going to unpack this. First up, we'll define the creepy skill itself. Then we'll look at the goal, mapping your mind. After that, we'll break down the exact mechanism in the 3-stage scan. Then we'll uncover the psychological trap that makes it all work so well. And then, crucially, we'll shift gears into building information defenses. And we'll wrap it all up with the main takeaway: your secrets, your power. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, let's be crystal clear about something right from the start. What we are talking about here is not some kind of mystical intuition. It's not a social superpower. It is a cold, systematic intelligence-gathering operation that someone performs on you, and a lot of the time, you don't even consciously realize it's happening. It is a calculated strategy, and it's designed for one thing: exploitation.
So let's look at the actual definition here. Hyperobservation is the systematic and intense monitoring of your most subtle, often unconscious signals. We're talking about that tiny flicker in your eye when you mention a past mistake, or the slight shift in your voice when you talk about something you're passionate about. To you, these are just nothing. They're fleeting moments. But to a hyper-observer, that's all raw data. And the goal of collecting all this data is singular and frankly pretty ruthless: to build an instant psychological profile focused on one thing: your vulnerabilities.
So you might be thinking, why go to all this trouble? The reason is both simple and chilling. The whole point of this operation is to create a comprehensive, high-resolution map of your mind. Now, this map isn't for understanding or for building a real connection. Nope, it's built for social prediction and ultimately for control. See, if they have an accurate map, they can predict your reactions before you even have them. They can sidestep your defenses before you even put them up. They can navigate your entire emotional landscape with terrifying precision, leaving you feeling like you're always one step behind.
And what's really important to get is the psychological context here. This is not a technique used by emotionally healthy people. It's a hallmark tactic you see with psychopathic and covert narcissistic traits. The whole strategy is built on a kind of cold, predatory efficiency. Get the absolute maximum leverage over you with the absolute minimum emotional investment from them. By mapping you out first, they make sure every word, every gesture, every single interaction is perfectly customized to have the biggest possible impact, whether that's to charm you or to completely dismantle you.
So what does this map of your mind actually look like? Well, the data is usually sorted into 3 critical areas. First, your emotional weaknesses. We're talking your deepest fears, your most private insecurities, your past traumas. Basically all the emotional buttons that can be pushed to throw you off balance. Second, and this is a huge one, are your attachment needs. Do you have a deep-seated fear of being abandoned, or maybe a need to be the rescuer? This is pure gold for them, because it gives them a precise roadmap on how to create a fast, intense, and totally artificial bond with you. And third, they map your social patterns. Are you a people pleaser? Do you avoid conflict at all costs? This data helps them predict exactly how you'll act under pressure, and, even more sinisterly, how to strategically cut you off from your support system.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of it. How is this psychological map actually built, step by step? Because this isn't random, it's a process. And once you can see the process, you can learn how to disrupt it.
So the blueprint is put together in this very deliberate 3-stage sequence. It all starts with data collection. That's the initial scan. All that raw data then feeds into stage 2, pattern recognition, which is where the profile gets built. And that leads to the final stage, vulnerability mapping, which gives the manipulator instant access to all your weak spots.
Stage 1, data collection, is all about that intense, unwavering focus they put on you. And on the surface, you might feel incredibly flattered by it, right? Like you're special. But what's really happening is a forensic analysis of your entire being. They are logging every single nonverbal micro-cue. The subtle widening of your pupils when you talk about something you love, that's a point of leverage. The tiny drop in your vocal tone when a painful memory comes up, that flags a vulnerability. And while they're watching, they use their primary weapon, those deeply probing questions. And this is that primary tool, covert interrogation. These are not your normal, casual, getting-to-know-you questions. They are precision-guided queries, designed like surgical tools to dig into your emotional history. They'll ask stuff like, what's the one thing you're most ashamed of? Or, tell me about a wound that never really healed for you. And it's all brilliantly disguised as this profound, soulful interest. The effect is intoxicating. You feel so uniquely seen that it just short-circuits your brain's natural caution. And this triggers a powerful psychological effect called reciprocal disclosure. Because they seem so deep, you feel this overwhelming urge to offer up your own deepest secrets to match that intimacy. Now, here's what's so fascinating about this next stage. All that raw data from the interrogation gets turned into a coherent profile. All those little data points you've shared, your fear of being alone, that difficult relationship with a parent, your tendency to give too much, they aren't just stored as random facts. No, they are rapidly synthesized and cross-referenced with established psychological models. They see those data points and their brain immediately goes, classic signs of an anxious attachment style. Main weak spot? Fear of abandonment. Most effective tool for exploitation will be intermittent reinforcement. It's happening in real time. They're isolating the most reliable psychological levers to pull to control you later on.
And that brings us to stage 3, the deployment phase. This is where the completed map is actually put into action. And this is the terrifying part, the duality of this tool. The exact same map is used for two opposite but related goals: targeted love bombing and customized gaslighting. First, they use their knowledge of your deepest desires for precision pleasing, mirroring you so perfectly you feel like you finally met the one. This creates an intense dependency. Then, later, using that very same map, they will launch precision attacks on your deepest, most private insecurities to maintain their dominance, leaving you confused, destabilized, and questioning your own reality.
But this all raises a really important question. Why is this so powerful? Why do smart, cautious people fall for this? Well, the answer lies in the psychological trap underneath it all. These opposing motivations that lock the manipulator and the target into this perfect and perfectly destructive dance. And this slide just lays out the mechanics of that trap perfectly. For the manipulator, it's all about control and efficiency. There's risk mitigation. By mapping you out first, they dramatically lower their own risk of being rejected. And there's supply security. This whole process ensures they can efficiently extract attention and validation, what we call narcissistic supply. On the other side, the target's vulnerability is often this powerful, unmet need for high-intensity validation. That feeling of being so intensely seen and understood is incredibly addictive. It creates this emotional rush that just completely overrides your brain's natural alarm bells about revealing your deepest weaknesses to a near stranger. It's a perfect lock and key. Their need for control perfectly exploits your need for validation. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time analyzing the attack. Now, let's pivot to the defense. We're going to shift from analysis to empowerment and focus on concrete, actionable strategies you can use to protect your psychological blueprint and take your power back in these kinds of interactions. The first and maybe the most powerful countermove is to turn their own tool right back on them. We're calling it the Observation Audit. Instead of just getting swept away by their intense focus, you consciously flip the script. You stop being the subject of the interview and you start analyzing the interviewer. You start paying attention to the kind of questions they're asking you. So, while you're in the conversation, you need to ask yourself these questions in real time. First, are their questions just excessive, relentless? Second, is the conversation totally one-sided, where you're the one doing all the revealing? That's non-reciprocity, and it's a huge red flag. A healthy connection is a balanced exchange, not an interrogation. And most importantly, are their questions always zeroing in on your past pain, your shame, your failures? That's a massive warning sign. Healthy people build connections on shared joys and values, not by mining your life for trauma data. The second defense is all about treating your personal information with the strategic respect it deserves. This is about implementing information boundaries. It means you have to consciously limit or ration the disclosure of your core vulnerability data. Look, real intimacy and trust, they aren't built in one intense conversation. They're built slowly, over time, through consistent, reliable, and reciprocal behavior. You have to force the interaction to move at a healthy pace, not the hyper-accelerated pace the manipulator wants. You need to start thinking of everything on this list as high-value data, as secure as your banking password. Your deepest fears, your past traumas, your core insecurities, these are not casual conversation starters. They are the keys to your entire psychological operating system.
I mean, you wouldn't give your banking info to a stranger you just met, so why would you hand them the keys to your emotional core in the first few conversations, no matter how intensely they seem to be listening?
And finally, the third tactic. This one's a bit more of an advanced defensive move, neutralizing your nonverbal cues. Remember, they are constantly scanning you for those micro-expressions that give away your inner state. You can actively deny them that raw data by practicing a calm, neutral demeanor in those early interactions. Keep a steady vocal tone. Adopt a calm, relaxed posture. This doesn't mean you have to be cold or rude. It just means being composed and emotionally regulated. The goal here is to give their scanner a blurry, low-resolution image, essentially starving their mapping process of the high-quality data it needs to even get started.
And this brings us to the core lesson of this entire explainer. Understanding this dynamic isn't about becoming paranoid. It's about becoming empowered by recognizing the true value of your own story.
So, let's bring it all together. First, we have to remember, hyper-observation is the creepy skill they use for vulnerability mapping. It works through a predictable pattern. Their intense data collection creates a detailed psychological map. That map is then used for incredibly effective customized gaslighting. Their goal is always to get that high-resolution map of your mind so they can use your vulnerabilities for leverage. Your defense, then, is simple in theory. You must treat your personal information like the high-value data it is, and you must deny them access to that blueprint.
But here's the most empowering thought to end on. Just being aware of this pattern can break the entire loop. By using the observation audit to reverse the scrutiny, and by implementing information boundaries to ration what you share, you protect your high-value secrets. You deny them the raw material they need to build their weapon. You deny them future leverage. Your story, your vulnerabilities, your secrets, they're the source of your depth and your strength. They belong to you, and only you get to decide who is worthy enough to share in them. Your secrets are your power. Deny them the blueprint.